Welcome to Inspire Campfire, a podcast where ordinary people tell their stories of extraordinary adventure. These are campfire stories meant to inspire the rest of us to light the fire within, get outside, follow our dreams, and return to tell our own stories. Ready? Let's strike the match.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Scott Wurzbacher, and today we're talking about creating a life built around experiences and the courage to follow your intuition. Our guest and my very good friend is Wibe-Sam Van Keulen, a self-described vagabond and someone who chooses freedom, authenticity, and living by an inner compass. Sam and I met through pure synchronicity, and we trekked to Everest Base Camp together last year. You may remember him from episode 173, when as a group, we recapped that journey. At 17, Sam hitchhiked from the Netherlands to France, kicking off a decade of adventure. Later, he built a successful business and then made the rare decision to walk away when it no longer aligned with who he was. Sam has been tuning into the voice inside that calls him to adventure. And now, through his Vagabond Coaching, he's helping others break free from old patterns, get clear on what matters, and build a life that actually reflects that. He lives what he teaches, and he's one of those people who just makes you want to think bigger about your own life. I can't wait to share his story with you all today. Sam, welcome back to the campfire.
Thank you, Scott. Great for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited. I just love talking with you. We've had so many good times together, especially, of course, on the base camp trip. You know, I always love reflecting back on how you and I met, because it's such in the spirit of adventure. I was putting together the base camp trip, and a mutual friend of ours, Miriam Lancewood, who has also been on this podcast, she just reached out to me and said, "Hey, I met this guy, Sam, and I think he might be a good fit for your base camp trek." As fate would have it, I happened to be visiting Geneva, France, where you were working, and we were able to get together and meet face to face and have a coffee before you decided whether or not that was something that you wanted to go. And it was just this quick, fast connection. And I remember leaving the coffee and I don't know, it feels like 30 minutes later, you texted me and said, "I'm in for EBC." And it was the rest was history. It was just so cool with the timing of that worked out.
Yeah, sure. There was a great moment to meet in Geneva with the coffee, and you coming from the States and I driving around guests. Yeah, so I felt that this is definitely a good guy to go on a trip with. And that was definitely the case.
It was wild, though, and the synchronicity of it is just sometimes the universe just puts people together. And it's not like I was in Geneva I was literally there for a morning because we were headed someplace else, and the timing just worked out. So I love when the universe allows stuff like that to happen. It's just amazing. But Sam, there's so much for us to cover, but let's just start with your latest venture, Vagabond Coaching. What is Vagabond Coaching?
Yeah, Vagabond Coaching. It is about doing what you want to do, but you don't really dare to do it. And it is, I think many people can relate to that as a struggle. You have a wish, but somehow you don't do it. And I came to this when I looked back at my own, let's say, career. I managed to do things, to make choices followed by my intuition. And yeah, so it's definitely not a classic corporate career I followed, but I made some bold decisions and some surprising moves. And for me at the time, they felt obvious. And that spirit, that kind of courageous way of choosing a different path, or maybe not the most normal choice, well, that courageous, I want to bring in my coaching.
I love it so much. So there's so much you just touched on. I mean, doing what you want, but you don't dare. That's what you said. And, things that you wish you would do, but you just haven't. I mean, that's what that's why you and I connect so well. That's what this podcast is all about. Trying to encourage people to listen to that voice inside that calls them to adventure, and then taking action. I think that's the key step. And you've done that so well. And I think that's why you're going to be so great at helping people along this journey. And I love this idea I mean, I remember actually when we were on EBC and you told me about the concept of the vagabond, and we kind of got into that a little bit then. And I don't know if it was just a seed at that point, but I'm looking forward to coming back to that. Sam, two things that you said I wanted to go deeper on. You said you've made some bold decisions and you've made some surprising moves. Can you elaborate?
Well, at some point in my life, I bought an apartment, and it was an apartment that needed a lot of redoing. And so I just put on a big mortgage for this apartment. And I told my employer of the time, I need to have some time. I need to work part-time for a while to get this apartment redone. And so they said, well, that's not possible. And therefore, if I cannot work part-time, then you make me resign. And so with a fresh mortgage on my back, I decided to resign for my job and to redo the apartment. And once it was done, afterwards I found an even better job. But it says something about the courage to do what you feel is right and to trust the process. Yeah, that apartment, I still have it. It's now part of my passive income, let's say. So it was really good to make that decision those days.
Yeah. And so I think for people that know me, they're going to see another deep connection point here why you and I get along so well. So as a real estate investor yourself, you just talked about that. That's kind of, people know that real estate is my business. And that's what pays the bills for me here. And adventure is just my love and passion. But you and I definitely have a connection point there. And I think that's one of the things that so inspires me about you, because of the way that you have prioritized experiences in your life, and you've created this life by doing things like what you did with the apartment building. I mean, sort of, prioritizing that and using that and creating passive income so that you can continue to do life on your terms and prioritizing adventure. So I think that's really awesome. So I'm curious, like, can we touch on the real estate investing side just for a minute while we're on there? What has that been like for you? You bought this apartment, and then you decided like that was the most important thing, and that you weren't willing to work for somebody else while this project was going on. Like, can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, well, the apartment, it was initially a place to live, and it was very worn out, so it needed totally redoing. And I like radical renovations to make it like you do it once, but you do it good, so it is lasting a decade or two. And so I radically renovated it, and in a way that I like it, and also any potential tenant might like it. So I enjoyed living there. And then when I moved, I easily could find a tenant, and now it's generating income. So I've done it then after with some other homes. I rent out on short-term business, and that works well.
I love it. Oh my gosh, we have such similar stories. It's so cool. But okay, so if we kind of jump back into like Vagabond Coaching and kind of keep going with that for a little bit, I think as people kind of get to know you throughout this episode, and obviously people that know you well, I think that there may be a perception, and this might just be in the US, but like there's sort of a perception that people that have coaches are like high performing, like production oriented, like let's get after this, typical view of success where we're chasing money and status and fame. And that is not you. That is not you at all. And I'm just curious, like your perspective on coaching from that standpoint and kind of how you view that.
Yes, I never really chased money in the first place. Of course, I aimed for financial independency, and the success is the advantage of money is an easy thing to measure success, because money is so easy to measure. I was lucky to earn decent money at some point in time, but then the thing with money is once you gain a certain amount, you always want more. And that is even when you come to a very high amount, you kind of feel like you can lose it at any point. So it was weird that when I earned the most of money in my career, I was probably the less happy. So I now aim to name success a kind of a finding a balance between what you want to do and what you have to do. And I think that is the real success for me. Money is inevitable. It is a great tool, but it's not the end game.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you said when I earned the most, I was the least happy.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting thing. And so I'm curious too. So growing up in Europe, and I want to get into a little bit more of your background too, but I'm curious if there's a perceptual difference that you're aware of between this idea of like chasing success. Is the culture different where you grew up versus like at least maybe your perception or your experience of how it is in the US? I mean, most of my listeners are in the US, although I do have quite a few folks in Europe, but I'm just curious if you have perceived a contrast between people's perceptions there in that pursuit of success.
Yeah, well, I've visited the States several times. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful countryside. Yeah, it's always good fun to go there. And I think you are very good in working a lot. And here in Europe, we tend to have some more importance to holidays. Also, the possibility to work part-time. I think it's more easy to realize in Europe than in the States. So I guess, yeah, the American success is more measured with money than in Europe, and also the entrepreneurial mindset in the US that like if you start a business, you can lose it and you start over again. That's a kind of a classic US mindset. I like that. That's independency, but you work a lot, and I saw for my personal experience, my mother, she passed away when she was just retired. And so retirement is an important thing, but if you focus all your happiness on that moment, you're not sure you even get there or when you get there. And so the way to that point is at least as important. Yeah, my aim is to enjoy life straight away, being responsible, but still not only focus on the moment of retirement.
I love it. So, and I want to dive into like kind of where this all developed from. And I think your personal kind of journey is really interesting. I mean, there's so much adventure, and we can start. Well, actually, let's start with, I think I said in the intro, you're from Burgundy, France, and that's where you kind of, that's where you kind of are centered in that. But you grew up in the Netherlands. Can you tell us a little bit about just where you're from and where you grew up and what that was like?
Yes, yeah, I grew up in the Netherlands, Dutch countryside, and like many Dutch, we went on holiday to France. France is a very popular destination, and so as a boy, I went with my parents, and when we came back home at the end of the summer holiday, I felt a kind of homesick somehow. So being even a little boy, I got the seed planted. Once I finish my school, I will go to France for longer than just a holiday, at least a year. And so when I was 17, actually, I went hitchhiking to France. It is about 1,000 kilometers from where I live. And yeah, it was a beginning of great experiences, going from one adventure to another. And yeah, that's how it all started.
How can you talk through that? Like, what was that like telling your parents, like, I'm going to hitchhike, like, or did you? Tell me, what was that like the decision to hitchhike 1,000 kilometers to France?
Yeah, it was, I was 17 and now I think of it, I was just a boy. At the time, I felt very confident and it was an obvious thing because I thought about it for many years. So I felt absolutely ready, and it was the most normal thing for me to do. And there was no cell phones or anything, so I made the agreement with my parents to ring them once a week. It's difficult to imagine now, but
that's crazy. So. I know. Just thinking about today's world with cell phones, like once a week.
Yeah, once a week, and I remember thinking about my mother. She was quite strict, but I felt it's a good agreement. I can do once a week, so I gave her an update once a week, and yeah, everything went fine. And it was at that time I was confident and feeling like ready to conquer the world. But when I think back, I was really young.
Yeah. I mean, do you like, was that sort of a normal thing at that point to hitchhike a long distance like that? Or do you feel like you were an exception?
I think it was quite exceptional. It's not everybody was doing the same thing, but yeah, for me, it just felt like this is what I want to do. And yeah, I met a lot of great people, and I had sometimes I had no money, or my bank card wasn't working. And then, but when you have such problems on the road, you meet people, there's always a solution. And so it's, yeah, overall, it was absolutely a great experience.
Do you remember the first time you put your thumb up and somebody pulled over, and like, do you remember that? The very first one?
Yeah. Well, definitely one of the first, and it's a great feeling, and it is, if you start from home, from the road that goes to your school or to the supermarket or anything, it's the same road. But if that road is the start of your hitchhiking journey, then suddenly that road already becomes part of the adventure. And so yeah, that was the kind of the feeling to even hitchhiking like that. It was the same road I took many times, but this time it led to France.
That's
so
amazing.
Something different.
I love that. Just this idea that you're on the same road that you've traveled all, it's just become this like mundane routine road, but now here you are on that same road, getting ready to start a big adventure. I love that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's so cool. How long did the 1,000 kilometers take? How long did it take to hitchhike that distance?
Oh, it went pretty quick, actually, because once you're along the highway, you catch up with somebody who goes long distance, and then so if you want to a specific address, then it can take longer, because you take smaller roads, or you need to go in a certain direction. But overall, if you're a bit flexible, it goes really well.
Do you think, curious, like a 17-year-old today, like, would your advice, well, I mean, I'm not promoting that anybody go do this, is like obviously but do you think it's different today than it was when you did it?
Well, cell phones do make it different. I mean, if you don't receive a message for 10 minutes, then you can go panicking very easily. So it's that is different. But you can start with a short journey, and then see how it goes, if you like it. And I always watch my backpack, to never leave my backpack somewhere unattended, or put my backpack in the car.
Yeah.
And so such small things make it the safest possible trip.
Totally. What'd you learn about people when you were hitchhiking?
Yeah, well, the thing is that people you don't know, then you share a little journey with them in the car, and it's a great way to connect, who were strangers 5 minutes ago, and then you have really deep conversations. Some invite you for lunch, give you some fruits for the way, and it's such powerful short moments that give you it's a great feeling that you can share that, and therefore hitchhiking, it's a special way to meet people.
Do you feel like there was any experiences that you had, or things that happened along the way that kind of changed your perception, or have kind of shaped who you are today? Like, if you look back on that specific experience, are there any ways in which like your confidence grew, or anything that kind of changed you?
Well, I remember one situation that it was a bit of a funny guy, and then you have in your mind that, oh, this can go wrong, or and then suddenly he took a different turn, and so it's all adding up, more red flags. But then finally it was just only me who was imagining those red flags.
Okay.
The guy just had to do some shopping somewhere, and that he was a crazy guy was just, it was just my thought of it. It was a creepy guy. He just looked a bit different, but he was very all normal. So yeah, what I learned of that is that the the danger is often only in our heads,
Yeah.
or the fear is just in our heads, and
Yeah.
in reality, it's pretty much worth trusting.
I love it. I love this. And I think we're going to get into a little bit more about like you and the way that you've been able to sort of develop your intuition. But I think that's an interesting point too, because there's like a discernment, like being able to like really acknowledge your intuition over just like fears like that. I think that's something that's an interesting topic for us to explore.
Yes, of course, fear can be real, and we also fear is cultivated, and it can influence your decisions. And I think it's good to be aware of risks, but it's you also need courage to do what you want to do, and then with some confidence, or even with less confidence, you will become confident by discovering you will find solutions, and therefore the routine is the enemy. It takes some courage to get out of the comfort zone, to get out of the routine, and I think that is what the vagabond does. And I hope to have a little bit of the vagabond spirit, and I put it to use in my coaching.
Yes, I love it. I'm excited to get into that. So after your 10-year adventure, after this hitchhiking thing that kind of led you into 10 years of adventure, you started a corporate job in the Netherlands, and it gave you some stability, but it left you feeling unfulfilled. Can you kind of take us from when you were hitchhiking and like what ensued there to leading you back to taking a corporate job and finding stability?
Yeah, so all this hitchhiking and all the adventures and different jobs that followed, it was all adding up great experiences, but it was also a bit random, and so I wanted to start something more solid, and therefore I went back to the Netherlands to start a corporate job in the insurance business, and it went well. I mean, it was earning real money, but I remember sitting there with colleagues with perfect ties and all. Yeah, there was one guy explaining about this new insurance product he was selling, and he said, "This is such a great insurance product. We cannot have any claims on this." So it was all for the show, It's he made the general was it the policy, the conditions were impossible to need to pay a claim. So commercial wise, it's good, but it's not honest money. So it just didn't feel aligned with me.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that like everything that we're talking about, we just got into kind of fear and intuition, and that you had some time in the risk management business, right? Because that's insurance is all about managing risk. Yeah. That's so interesting. I love that. So then you left and you actually started a company and grew that company, but still that left you feeling unfulfilled. Tell us about that.
Yes, there was this opportunity to start a business back in France. So this corporate job of about 8 years I was in the Netherlands, and then there was this own business opportunity in a tiny France village of selling trailers. It took off very well from scratch, and also it was a very interesting learning period. And this was on like very remote French countryside. So when there was this one guy selling trailers there, more than one thought I was completely nuts to do that in this rural area. And well, now it turned out to be one of the biggest French trailer resellers. But anyway, I did it with a partner, and then you see when you don't agree on anything and everything it becomes a kind of a battle. And despite the success in terms of money, I just didn't feel it anymore. So after 8 years of building that business from zero to already a multi-million turnover yearly, I found a way to quit, and I concentrated again on my real estate business.
Love it. So the next, and some of this is you have a great website, your Vagabond Coaching website, which will direct people to, but you have kind of an outline, and I'm sort of following and asking some questions about that. But I'm really intrigued because next comes, it says in 2019, you created space to reconnect with what really matters, and I can't wait to hear about that. What happened, and how did you create this space to reconnect with what really matters?
Yeah, that's it was definitely that this making money, just only making money, that was not my big motivation. So I kind of went with friends hiking in the Alps, and the beauty of nature and the stunning views on different moments of the day, and sharing the end of a hike with some unknown people, some strangers you meet on the trail. That felt so powerful, and that's where I thought I just want to do more of this, And so, yeah, that's where I found more time to go on multi-day hikes and far journeys. So yeah, there was time for traveling and discovering new destinations.
So you mean you specifically have that as like in 2019, this was, it seems to me it was kind of like this realization you had, because adventure and these kinds of things, like none of this was new to you, but it seems almost like maybe you just kind of woke up and said like, wait a minute, like I've been doing this stuff all my life and this is what I love.
Absolutely. It was a confirmation. And also I mentioned the balance before, and working a lot, earning a lot of money, that's good, but then it just leaves very little time to do these adventures. And so if you want to do something, you have to make time for it. Maybe it was a bit a radical way to then quit the job, but it was a very clear way, and I absolutely don't regret it. And it gave a lot of room for the adventures I really enjoy. Yeah, that feels really good.
Yeah. That 2019, that's 7 years ago. And, now you have Vagabond Coaching where you're helping others, and we'll come to that. But like within the last 7 years, you made this conscious decision to focus on experience and focus on adventure and make that your priority. How have you been able to do that? How have you been able to sustain that?
In France, I now have some holiday rentals, and that gives in the basic income. In the winter, I'm a taxi driver in a ski resort, and all together, it makes a good living, and it gives a lot of time for travels. And it's the balance that is right. Yeah, that just gives a very, how do you say it, conscious way of living. So
yeah. So you've created this sort of real estate portfolio that has helped you kind of maintain this income that helps you kind of keep a baseline. And then you've also got, doing jobs in places that are beautiful, where there's, you get to enjoy skiing and doing all those kinds of things to bring it all together to be able to create this life. And as you said, it's for you, it's been able to help you create this life to focus on the priorities.
Absolutely. That's correct. It's yeah.
And it's working. Here's somebody that's kind of stepped away from working jobs that they don't really feel fulfilled in, and you figured out a way to make it work, and it's working for you. So like the last piece in your timeline, it says 2025, discovering your greatest strength was following your intuition with awareness and intention. So tell us about that. Discovering that following your intuition with awareness and intention was so critical.
Yeah, well, it's again about the beauty of nature, and it is more of connecting with people that is important for me instead of chasing the money. And that's what I love to do, and that's what's happening. And having the time to do that. And I think coaching is therefore also the possibility to do that online. I have my house in Burgundy. That's a safe space, a safe base camp, let's call it that way, with my laptop, traveling the world, and like putting the vagabond lifestyle to practice. Will be the best way to practice what you preach.
That's exactly what I was just thinking, practicing what you preach. And I think that's the beauty of you, Sam, is that you're somebody that's actually, listening to the voice inside and following it. You're actually doing this. And so, I mean, I don't know, for me, I think people want to be guided by somebody that's actually doing the thing that they want to be doing. So I just love it. I think it's so cool. I'm curious if you could talk, like you talked about like really learning to follow your intuition. And I wonder if you could talk about what that's like. I mean, what is that like to really follow? Like, how do you know you're following your intuition?
Well, it's maybe, it is like the elephant in the room, it's obvious, but somehow you don't dare to name it because of set values or limiting beliefs or, well, other safe opinions, the comfort zone, a certain routine. And yeah, the intuition is daring to think out of the box and consider options that are maybe not the most often chosen options, but still a possibility. And if it feels good, then it might be worth exploring further.
Was there a time for you when you sort of denied your intuition? And like, do you remember kind of when you decided or kind of recognized that it was safe to trust your intuition?
Well, the period at the insurance company, that was definitely not the time when I listened the most to my intuition, but I kind of followed the general move to a corporate career. And then it also, by doing that, you find, well, I found that it is not aligned with my really me. And so the intuition brought me back on the, let's call it the vagabond track. And that's where I found myself, this is much more me. Yeah, then things started to get in a better flow, So.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into to being a vagabond. And so, if I close my eyes, I remember exactly where we were on the trail on the trek to Everest Base Camp. I remember the day and I remember like what was going on around us. I remember the landscape, and we were just talking. We were obviously surrounded by 20,000 foot peaks, but we were kind of walking through a valley. And I just remember you started talking about your coaching practice and the name Vagabond. And you immediately had me with the word vagabond, because that's not, at least in the US, that's not the term that like somebody would immediately connect with. Like, but you're just like, I love your concept of the vagabond and what it means to you and how you're bringing this into the coaching, because it's so you. Can you talk about like why you decided on the word vagabond?
Yeah, there are several things. There's a practical side of it, because I wanted a term that is resonating in 3 languages. I try to speak English as good as I can. I also speak Dutch and French. And the vagabond works in all 3 languages, but often it can have a slightly negative resonance. But that's also, there is something slightly provocative about the vagabond, and I think provocative can make something start. I remember very well that I brought it up to you on the trail to Everest Base Camp. I was slightly hesitating. Yeah, your positive reaction was definitely planting the seed even more. And and now it's real.
I love it. It's so good. So on your website, it talks about the values that you like. The word vagabond means someone who chooses freedom, authenticity, and following intuition. Well, can you talk about that? And courage. I think that was another key value there. Can you talk about those values in particular?
Yes, I think courage is absolutely essential, and it's not easy to do, but it can be very rewarding, and it can bring us off the roads we know. It can bring us to a deeper level. Yeah, reward us with unknown rewards that is worth putting the courage to use.
Yeah, so good. So Sam, in your coaching practice, Is there like a type of client or like a type of person that you're hoping to coach? Is there like, do you kind of have I guess an avatar, for lack of a better word, of the type of person that comes to you for coaching?
I think my typical client is like a professional and in a working environment or having an own business and kind of needs to have a different perspective to their situation. And I hope I can provide another way of watching their situation to open new doors, open new thoughts. So to give a new energy to their career, their working environment. Maybe I can also confirm that for them that staying in a corporate job is for them much better than aiming for the vagabond lifestyle. It's probably not for everybody, but it's by considering it, having a new approach. I think that's very helpful.
What do you think it is that most of those folks that are good clients for you are looking for when they come to you? What do you think they're looking for?
Well, they might look for kind of nuggets or a helping hand, and actually what I hope to provide is that they will find the helping hand in themselves. And sometimes it needs a little conversation to start a new way of thinking, a new way of doing, and it can have a big butterfly effect. So I think it's a genuine conversation that just can give new insights.
What would kind of a typical client engagement look like for you? Like, what should people expect sort of with that first interaction with you?
Well, we of course we talk about what they would expect from me, and that I can provide miracles. That will take a while. A classic approach is like, if everything would be possible, for example, then what would you like to do most? Or if money was not a problem, not an issue, where would you like to be? And that's kind of a starting point to discover where we want to go. It can create surprising insights, and that's amazing to see.
Well, I love it because it gets me excited to think about stuff like that, and hopefully listeners are excited about that too. And I can attest. You and I have had some coaching sessions together, and I appreciate the help that you've offered for me. You've been great. You've really inspired me, and I really love the way that you've lived your life and how you've prioritized experiences. And I think that there's so much that people can learn from you. And I think, man, you're just fun to be around. I just enjoy talking with you. So
thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott.
If people want to find out more about you and Vagabond Coaching or explore working with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way is to have a look at my website. It's vagabondcoaching.net.
Okay.
And there you see more about my approach, about all the contact details. You can book for a free discovery session, and so we can take it from there. That's all is there.
Amazing. Well, do you have any fun adventures on the horizon?
Well, I go hiking to some big peaks in Switzerland soon, and I will do some mountain biking. Also, there will be this summer in France. So that's on the short horizon. I have some weddings around here in Burgundy. So that's small local adventures, and I'm considering a bigger trip in autumn, but it's just on the
still on the mind, yeah.
On the mind.
Well,
yeah.
I know you and I will adventure together again at some point. That's a for sure. It's just a matter of time. But so you've lived this epic life and you've done all these cool adventures. So many we didn't even touch on today. There's so much we didn't even scratch the surface because we're kind of focusing on your coaching practice here. But of all of these things in this epic life that you've lived, at some point Hollywood is gonna catch on to your story and they're gonna want to make a full biopic on your life, Sam. And I happen to know from the last time that we spoke on this podcast when we recapped the EBC experience together, that Daniel Craig is going to play you in this movie. Is it?
Yes.
Is he still your choice?
Well, I have a new choice, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, it's reminded me of a movie I saw quite a while ago. Actually, it's a Pixar movie, so I really like the Pixar movies. So I hope it will be Mr. Incredible.
Oh, Mr. Incredible. Is this going to be an animated movie? Nobody's ever had an animated movie. This would be cool.
Yeah, let's make it an animated movie.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, how fun. That's going to be awesome. So what's it going to be called?
Yeah, I would say a day out of the life of the vagabond. Something like that.
Day in the life of the vagabond. It's an animated movie starring Mr. Incredible. Love that. Okay. But Sam, so much fun. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it. This has been such a fun conversation. And for those listening, I hope you've been inspired today as much as I have. Hope Sam's story has encouraged you to listen to the voice inside that calls you to adventure, because we want to hear your story next. If you have a story to tell or just need a nudge to create one, please send me an email. We'd also appreciate it if you'd help us spread the word by leaving a review and sharing or tagging Inspire Campfire in your social media. And until next time, I want to encourage you to get outside. Thanks for listening. Sam, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Scott. Fantastic. Thank you.